In a world consumed by the relentless pursuit of power, domination, and material possession, the enigmatic figure of Lao Tzu emerges as a luminous beacon, a sage whose wisdom transcends time and culture, whose words illuminate the path back to the soul's deeper longing. The journey you are about to embark upon is not simply a historical or philosophical inquiry. It is an invitation to rediscover life itself, to return to the wellspring of nature, and to listen anew to the quiet, whispering voice of the Tao. Lao Tzu, shrouded in legend and myth, is the ancient architect of Taoism, a philosophy not of conquering, but of harmonizing, not of possessing, but of releasing, not of acting, but of aligning with the currents of existence. He stands as a paradox, a sage who teaches through silence and example rather than proclamation, whose very presence is an embodiment of the mystery he explored. His teachings, preserved in the Tao Te Ching, remain as fresh, poignant, and fiercely relevant today as they were over 2 millennia ago. Each chapter of this book reflects a profound journey through his philosophy, echoing the eternal dance of yielding and strength, of emptiness and abundance, of the soft and the hard. Before we dive in, make sure to subscribe and hit that like button to support the channel. And don't forget to turn on the notification bell so you never miss an audiobook that could change your life. Now let's begin. Enjoy. Chapter 1. The Mystery of the Tao. Who was Lao Tzu? From behind the mists of history and the haze of legend, a solitary figure steps forward, his name barely whispered, his words thunderous in their quietude. Lao Tzu, Old Master, is shrouded in paradox. The ancient chroniclers offer only fragments of his life, leaving ample room for myth and speculation. Some say he lived around the 6th century BCE, a keeper of the imperial archives in the Zhou dynasty. Others believe he never lived at all, that he is a personification of the timeless Tao. Despite the shadows that surround him, Lao Tzu's presence vibrates in the marrow of Chinese philosophy. His teachings, a gentle stream that carves deep canyons in the landscape of thought. Was he a real man? A wandering recluse disenchanted with court politics? Or rather, an ideal, an archetype embodying the spirit of the Tao, the eternal way? These questions are woven like silk into the mystery of his life. The most durably evocative tale is that of Lao Tzu's departure. As the story goes, weary of the corruption and chaos of the royal court, Lao Tzu resolved to leave civilization behind. Mounted on a water buffalo, he traveled westward toward the frontier of China. At the last gate, the keeper recognized his wisdom and begged him to leave behind his teachings before vanishing forever. Lao Tzu acquiesced and penned the Tao Te Ching, a slim 81-verse text containing the distilled essence of the Tao. It is here, in this moment at the frontier, that the mystery of Lao Tzu blooms. Was this act of departure an abandonment or an ultimate alignment with his own philosophy of release, of going with the flow? Did Lao Tzu exist solely to birth these verses, the world's most influential treatise on living in harmony with nature, and then dissolve into legend? The power of his story lies not in its factual certainty, but in its evocative resonance, a life lived so close to nature, so deeply attuned to its rhythms, that it could never be fully contained within the boundaries of history. The mystery of Lao Tzu is inseparable from the mystery of the Tao itself, elusive, shape-shifting, quietly potent. The Tao is not a god, it is not a doctrine, it is the underlying way, the truth beneath the surface, the pattern woven through the chaos, the song within the silence. Lao Tzu's life reflects this ambiguity, this invitation to question, to seek beyond what is seen, yet within the uncertainty lies a profound emotional truth. Lao Tzu's wisdom, whether spoken by a flesh and blood sage or whispered in the wind, invites each of us to turn inward, to listen to the heart, to empty ourselves of preconceptions and ambitions so that the Tao may flow through us. His life, or the myth thereof, is a call, a yearning for simplicity, humility, and harmony. As we step deeper into Lao Tzu's world, let us embrace the mystery. Let it guide us. For the mystery is not a puzzle to be solved, but a doorway to be entered. The path of the Tao begins not with certainty, but with wonder, with awe, with the gentle humility of the seeker. And so our journey begins. Chapter 2, The Birth of Taoism, a path beyond power and possession. Taoism was born in resistance, in gentle, quiet opposition to the grinding machinery of ambition, domination, and ceaseless acquisition. In the ancient world, the quest for power was unrelenting, and kings and warlords vied for control. The people stepped over in the stampede for dominance. Yet somewhere amid the dust and noise, Lao Tzu whispered of another path, a way beyond striving. To understand Taoism's birth is to feel the pulse of suffering and dissatisfaction that coursed through society. Rulers and sages had long debated the nature of virtue, law, and right action. Confucianism, with its rigid moral codes and hierarchical structures, offered order. But Lao Tzu gazed deeper. He saw the prison of rules, the suffocation of enforced virtue. In his view, the highest good was not achieved through striving for moral perfection, but through yielding to the natural flow of life. His teachings were revolutionary. The Taoist way was non-action, Wu Wei, not inaction, but the unforced alignment with reality. The ambition to control life was replaced by an attentive openness to its mysteries. Lao Tzu taught that the best leaders governed least, that the soft would dissolve the hard, and that emptiness was the reservoir of fullness. He called for a return to simplicity, for the humility to release control, the courage to trust nature's wisdom rather than the machinations of man. The emotional resonance of Taoism's birth lies in its promise of liberation. Freedom not only from external tyranny, but from the internal chains of yearning and grasping. In its folds, Lao Tzu's teachings offer a radical shift, the invitation to let go, to allow, to witness life's unfolding with a serene heart. Power and possession, he saw, were root causes of suffering. We chase them endlessly, only to lose ourselves in the hunt. Taoism points to another way, a path to reclaim the soul from the jaws of desire. Lao Tzu's answer to the world's turmoil was not revolt, but withdrawal. Not force, but acceptance. Not acquisition, but emptiness. Yet this withdrawal is not indifference. It is a profound engagement with the underlying order of things, a trust in the current, a deep attunement to the music of existence. Taoism, at its heart, is a surrender to life's own intelligence. The birth of Taoism thus marked a seismic shift, a movement away from the cacophony of civilization toward the silence of presence. Lao Tzu did not ask us to become passive. He asked us to become receptive, to hold life lightly, to allow its beauty, sorrow, and mystery to flow through us unimpeded. In doing so, we discover a power more profound than any king's, the power to live in harmony, to become fully human. As we trace this path, let the emotional wisdom of Lao Tzu resonate within. Let his invitation to softness dissolve the armor of striving. Let the birth of Taoism be a door, a path, a call back home. Chapter 3, The Tao Te Ching, Wisdom in 81 Verses. The Tao Te Ching itself is a literary and spiritual phenomenon, a brief, cryptic text whose 81 verses ripple with the depth of oceanic silence. Crafted in a language that evades precision and confounds analysis, it is at once disarmingly simple and endlessly profound. Lao Tzu's words read less as assertions and more as questions, as riddles, as invitations to direct experience. The emotional power of the Tao Te Ching is found in its radical minimalism. In a world addicted to complexity and verbosity, Lao Tzu pared wisdom down to the root, revealing that the ultimate truth is subtle, elusive, and nearly invisible. The Tao that can be spoken is not the eternal Tao. The name that can be named is not the eternal name. So begins the journey, a journey without maps. Each verse strikes a chord in the heart of existence. Some speak of the power of softness, Water is soft and yielding, yet it carves out valleys. Others urge stillness. The wise are humble, like dust settling on the ground. Some paradoxes unsettle the mind. To gain, surrender. To succeed, yield. The best way is no way. In these lines, Lao Tzu offers not doctrine, but koan, not answers, but doorways. What makes the Tao Te Ching magical is its emotional openness. The verses wash over the reader, sometimes confounding, comforting, always inviting surrender to a deeper knowing. The brevity is intentional. It is a meditation, an experience, a catalyst for transformation rather than a collection of concepts. The text disarms the intellect so that the heart may awaken. For centuries, seekers have grappled with the verses, finding in each one a universe of meaning. The Tao Te Ching is a living text. Each reading reveals new facets, new depths, a mirror that reflects the reader's soul as much as the world's mysteries. It is soft, subtle, ungraspable, just as the Tao itself. An emotional tenderness runs through the verses, the sense that all things are precious precisely because they are fleeting, fragile, incomplete. Lao Tzu's poetry offers comfort for sorrow, guidance for uncertainty, and wisdom for bewilderment. The 81 verses do not ask for mastery. They ask for presence, for attention, for gentleness. As you enter the sanctuary of the Tao Te Ching, let your defenses drop. Let its wisdom seep into your bones. Do not seek to conquer the text. Let it conquer you gently, dissolve you into its mystery. For here in these verses is not an answer, but the very heart of wonder. Chapter 4, The Way and Its Virtue. Understanding the Tao and T to approach the Tao and its companion. T is to enter the deepest river of Lao Tzu's teachings, the current that nourishes all things, the virtue that grows wild and true. Tao, the way, is nameless, unfathomable, the origin of all. T, its virtue, is the living expression, the branch grown from root, the flower blossoming from hidden seed. The Tao is not a path to be followed, but a reality to be recognized. Is the pattern behind the dance of the world, the birth and death of stars, the opening and closing of petals, the laughter and weeping of hearts. Lao Tzu describes the Tao in negative terms, for it cannot be grasped or fixed, only entered and experienced. It is the space within the cup that makes it useful. It is uncarved wood, potential before it is named. T, by contrast, is the moral force that arises when one is aligned with the Tao. It is not virtue as law or custom, but the spontaneous flowering of goodness that occurs when we no longer strive. T is felt rather than possessed. It is humility, kindness, patience, a gravity that draws all things into harmony. The emotional resonance between Tao and Te is intimate and profound. When one lives in accordance with the way, virtue arises effortlessly. The sage does not act for approval or recognition. Virtue shines because it is an emanation of truth. The power lies in emptiness, in stillness, in knowing when to act and when to refrain. The struggle of humanity, Lao Tzu sees, lies in our desire to impose will, to push, to control, to dominate. This creates turbulence, suffering, and alienation. True power paradoxically emerges when we yield, when we soften, when we allow the Tao to shape our lives. Tea is the fragrance of a life lived without striving, the grace of surrender. Lao Tzu's teachings beckon us not to adopt new beliefs, but to attune to the deeper rhythm of existence. The Tao and Te are rivers flowing within each soul. To discover them is to return home. The emotional revolution is in the simplicity, in knowing that we are enough if only we let go. Contemplating the Tao and Te reveals the magic of ordinary things, the beauty in emptiness, the power in humility, the strength in stillness. This is not weakness but profundity, not passivity but dynamic harmony. The sage's virtue is not displayed but felt, not claimed but given. Let the river of the Tao wash away your armor. Let the virtue of to bloom quietly within. For in understanding these, you come to know the art of living, the very marrow of Lao Tzu's teachings. a softness that overcomes the hard, a gentleness that transforms the world. Chapter 5. Wu Wei, the power of effortless action. In the hushed heart of Lao Tzu's philosophy lies Wu Wei, the principle of effortless action, of acting without striving, of doing by not doing. This concept challenges every instinct of the modern mind, trained from birth to push, to strive, to conquer. Yet in the serenity of Wu Wei, we find the key to true power and happiness. Wu Wei is not inaction, nor is it passivity. It is an alignment so profound, so natural, that action arises unbidden, spontaneous, perfectly attuned to the moment's needs. It is the fisherman casting his net with the river's current, the dancer moving in harmony with invisible rhythms. Lao Tzu teaches that by ceasing to force outcomes, by letting go of the need to control, we tap into a source of energy far greater than willpower. The emotional power of Wu Wei unfolds in its promise of relief from worry, desperation, and exhaustion. The struggle to control life is like grasping water. The harder we grip, the less we hold. But when we open our hands, life fills us with abundance. In Wu Wei, we harness the wisdom of the Tao by responding to what is needed, rather than imposing what is wanted. In daily life, Wu Wei requires trust. Trust in the unfolding of events, faith in the intelligence of life itself. The sage is described as not intervening unnecessarily, as letting things emerge in their own time. Paradoxically, this non-interference leads to the most skillful results. Through Wu Wei, leadership becomes gentle, decisions become clear, and relationships deepen. Lao Tzu's vision is emotionally liberating. Wu Wei is the permission to be, to relax, to move with ease through chaos. It is the courage to let go when gripping brings only suffering. It is the deep humility of letting the Tao guide each step. In the garden of Wu Wei, miracles grow quietly. Effortless action is not visible to the casual observer, for it is internal, a letting go of tension, expectation, and anxiety. But within it is a revolution, a renewal. Wu Wei is the call to trust your inner nature, to follow the path that opens gently before you, to give up the battle and melt into the flow. Let Wu Wei dissolve your anxiety. Let its promise saturate your life. For here, in effortless action, the deepest peace is found, a peace the world cannot give, yet all may receive. Chapter 6. Emptiness and Stillness, the source of true strength. Lao Tzu lifts us into a quiet, profound truth. True strength is born not from force, but from emptiness and stillness. In a culture where accomplishment is measured in action and noise, his wisdom is radical. The empty heart, the silent mind, are the wellsprings of resilience, creativity, and wisdom. Emptiness, in Taoism, is not desolation, but potential. It is the gap within the wheel that allows movement, the space in the vessel that makes it useful. Lao Tzu sees emptiness as openness to life, a holding place for wonder, receptivity to Tao. Only when the cup is empty can it be filled anew. Only when the mind relaxes does insight arise. Stillness is Lao Tzu's antidote to the feverish chase for more. In stillness, the waters of the soul settle, reflecting truth undistorted. Strength emerges not through the assertion of will, but through the acceptance of serenity. The sage knows when to pause, when to rest, when to wait. In this waiting, power grows, softly, secretly, without fanfare. The emotional resonance of emptiness and stillness is tender, healing, consoling. It is the balm for wounds inflicted by striving, the comfort for the weary, the haven for the soul lost in noise. Lao Tzu beckons us to put down our burdens, to stop seeking and simply receive. In emptiness, we return to ourselves. In stillness, we discover our strength. The softness of this teaching is its hidden might. To be still when all around is turmoil, to be empty when the world demands filling, this is the courage of the sage, the heart of Lao Tzu's wisdom. His verses invite us to rest, to become receptive, to trust in the unfolding. In the shadow of emptiness and the silence of stillness, everything flows. Creativity springs forth, resilience deepens, understanding expands. Lao Tzu's wisdom asks, not for grandeur but for gentleness, not achievement but presence. Let emptiness be your sanctuary, let stillness be your root. From these true strength flowers, quietly, irresistibly like the coming of spring. Chapter 7, The Soft Overcomes the Hard. Among the most evocative and emotionally gripping teachings of Lao Tzu is the paradox, the soft overcomes the hard. Across the Tao Te Ching, this truth echoes as a challenge to the instinct that force is supreme. In nature, it is the gentlest elements, water, air, grass, that shape mountains, break stone, and create worlds. Lao Tzu uses water as an emblem. Soft, yielding, fluid, it is humble, always seeking the lowest place, never resisting. Yet over ages, water carves the strongest rock. In human life, he says, gentleness has transformative power. Softness dissolves rigidity, patience outlasts aggression. The emotional message is one of deep hope, of comfort against the violence and hardness endemic in the world. Lao Tzu invites the broken, the humble, the soft-hearted to recognize their strength. You do not need power to transform. You need openness. The most enduring change comes through subtlety, flexibility, and resilience. The sage learns to bend, to adapt, to become fluid like water. When hardship arrives, the soft spirit yields, allowing the storm to pass without breaking. This is not weakness but wisdom, the strength that weathers all things. Lao Tzu's vision is profoundly consoling. In a world obsessed with force, the real triumph belongs to the soft. Emotionally, this teaching is empowering. It invites release from the tyranny of aggressiveness, the need to dominate. The soft, the gentle, the kind, these are the true inheritors of the earth. Lao Tzu asks that we trust in our vulnerability, for it is the source of greatest strength. Softness overcomes hardness in relationships. It heals wounds, forgives losses, and bridges gaps. In the heart's quiet openness, pain is transformed. In the world, the gentle force of patience dissolves mountains of resistance. Return to softness. Become as water. In your yielding lies your power. In your vulnerability, your indomitable strength. Lao Tzu's wisdom is a balm for the soul, a lightness that overcomes the heaviness of the world. Chapter 8. Nature as the ultimate teacher. Under the unbroken sky, amid the soft whisperings of wind and water, Lao Tzu found his sanctuary. Long before words were written on parchment, long before doctrines grew thick like bramble, he observed and listened. In every blade of grass, he saw the ordinary transformed by the profound, and in every mountain he glimpsed eternity cradled in the present. For Lao Tzu, true wisdom began not in the cloistered chambers of scholars, but in the elemental embrace of nature itself. Nature's lessons are subtle, unfolding in silence, demanding patience and attention. Lao Tzu watched the river, always flowing yet never hurried, embracing all obstacles not with resistance, but with a gentle persistence. He learned from the seasons, from the effortless grace by which spring gives way to summer and autumn releases all that is no longer needed. The cycles, the rhythms, and the harmony of the natural world echo truths deeper than any words can contain. Lao Tzu's philosophy is founded on the conviction that nature reveals the Tao, the way. The Tao cannot be grasped or spoken. It is best understood by immersing oneself in the life that surrounds us, not by dissecting it. This ancient sage invites us to notice not just the grand landscapes, but the small wonders. The dew on leaves, the slow unfolding of a flower, the effortless flight of a sparrow. To learn from nature is to surrender the illusion of control and become attuned to a rhythm that exists beyond human ambition. He teaches that nature does not hurry, yet everything is accomplished. The secret of living lies not in frantic striving, but in aligning oneself with the gentle flow of existence. To walk the path of the Tao, we must quiet the noise of our minds and open ourselves to the teachings of the living world. In moments of stillness, when the boundaries between self and nature become permeable, wisdom seeps in soft, relentless, and true. As children, we are intuitively close to nature's wisdom, playing in mud, climbing trees, losing ourselves among the wildflowers. Growing older, we erect barriers, losing touch with this original knowing. Lao Tzu urges us to return, to recover the innocence and receptivity that allows nature's lessons to imprint upon us. When we honor the world around us as our teacher, we become humble, receptive, and at peace. Within the vast classroom of nature, each lesson is offered with gentleness and compassion. The rivers do not rebuke us for our rigidity. The trees do not judge our haste. Instead, they simply invite us back again and again to presence. Lao Tzu's wisdom, born of this profound observation, feels less like instruction and more like grace, an offering to lay down our burdens and drink deeply of the serene wisdom that abides in the natural world. May we learn, with him, to trust nature, her quiet ways, her softness and strength. Let your heart open to the teachings the winds carry and the rain whispers. Nature is not only the backdrop to life, she is its great teacher. And through Lao Tzu's eyes, perhaps we may see her for the first time as she truly is, a guide, healer, and friend. Chapter 9. The Paradox of Wisdom, Knowing by Not Knowing. In the early dawn, when the mist hangs low and vision is soft, Lao Tzu's paradox comes alive. Wisdom, he says, flourishes not from the accumulation of facts, but from surrendering certainty. To know truly, we must first embrace our own unknowing. The world reveres knowledge, prizes answers and expertise. Yet Lao Tzu, in his gentle rebellion, asserts that those who claim to know are often the farthest from the truth. He sees wisdom as a vast ocean, one that cannot be mapped or measured, but only entered humbly, barefoot, hearts unburdened. In the Tao Te Ching, he writes, "To know that you do not know is the best. To pretend to know when you do not is a disease." The sage suggests that wisdom begins with emptiness, with a willingness to surrender rigid beliefs and expectations. In this space, the mind opens itself to wonder, curiosity, and discovery. Like a child, awestruck at the world's unfolding mysteries, we become receptive to insights that flow not from logic, but from intuition and experience. The paradox is both disorienting and liberating. To not know is not to be ignorant, but to be free from the confines of dogma, assumption, and pride. In admitting our limitations, we become more attuned to the true nature of things. Lao Tzu teaches that the wisest among us recognize the limits of their understanding, and in doing so, they walk lightly, unburdened by the need to possess or control. There is a deep humility in the approach Lao Tzu advocates. It invites us to listen more deeply, to people, to the world, and to the quiet voice within that remains unclouded by conventional wisdom. When we let go of the ego's compulsion to know it all, our minds become fertile ground for true insight. The paradox dissolves the boundaries between self and other, knowledge and mystery. Wisdom, then, is not an achievement, but a surrender. In each moment, we can choose to live as learners, open and vulnerable to the lessons life enfolds. To walk this path is to admit the world's most profound truths are often those that cannot be put into words, that shimmer just at the edge of comprehension. The emotional weight of this paradox is immense. To let go of certainty is to relinquish security, but in doing so, to find peace. The heart learns to rest in the unknown, trusting that not every question needs an answer, and not every problem needs solving. Life becomes less a battleground and more a dance, a mysterious, beautiful unfolding. As you journey through this chapter, may you feel the liberation and humility that breathes beneath Lao Tzu's paradox. Know that wisdom is not a fortress to be stormed, but an endless horizon to be appreciated, step by gentle step, in awe and surrender. Chapter 10. Simplicity, the art of living lightly. In Lao Tzu's world, Simplicity is not an absence, but a profound presence, a conscious choice to strip away the unnecessary and cherish what remains. His teachings pulse with the gentle reminder: the art of living lightly is not about deprivation, but about abundance found in the essential. Modern life is a clamor of wants, distractions, and ambitions. We gather possessions, accumulate obligations, and chase after myriad desires, hoping they will fill the hollow spaces within. Lao Tzu gazes at this frantic spectacle with a quiet compassion. He teaches that simplicity is a return, a homecoming to the original wisdom that abides within each soul. To live simply is to honor what is truly important: connection, presence, and contentment. Lao Tzu's poetry describes the way of the Tao as water finds its path, effortless, gentle, unencumbered by force. Simplicity is not a rejection of enjoyment, but an embrace of sufficiency. It is the realization that more does not equal better, and that riches are found in moments of stillness and gratitude. The emotional power of simplicity lies in its ability to soothe the restless heart. When we release the relentless drive for more, we create space for love, for joy, for reflection. Lao Tzu invites us to walk lightly, to carry less, and to find meaning in what we have been given. He teaches that the greatest treasures are often hidden in plain sight: the laughter of a friend, the warmth of sunlight, the silence between breaths. This way of living lightly fosters clarity. Without the clutter of excess, the mind becomes lucid, receptive, and free. Simplicity opens the door to mindfulness, allowing us to savor each moment in its fullness. Lao Tzu's wisdom beckons us to nurture the gentle art of enough, to see with new eyes, and to cherish the gifts that only simplicity can bring. Living simply joins us with the rhythm of nature. The trees do not argue for more branches. The rivers do not strive for greater depth. All flourish precisely as they are, unburdened by the expectations that so often weigh us down. Through simplicity, we reconnect with the natural world, with ourselves, and with each other. There is an emotional release in surrendering what no longer serves. The art of simplicity is the art of letting go, of possessions, of judgments, of old stories. In the emptiness, a gentle fullness arises. We discover, as Lao Tzu reminds, that true happiness comes not from abundance, but from the quiet joy of contentment. May this chapter encourage you to embrace the art of living lightly, to look with compassionate eyes upon your life, and to recognize the beauty abundant in simplicity. Let your heart find rest, your spirit grow unburdened, and your days brighten with the gentle grace that Lao Tzu so lovingly offers. Chapter 11. Leadership the Taoist Way, Ruling Without Control. In every era, the struggle for power, influence, and control has left deep marks upon societies. Leaders often take the stage with grand gestures, commanding obedience through laws and decrees. Yet Lao Tzu offers a radically different vision, one that springs from humility, patience, and presence. To him, true leadership is not about control, but about guidance, trust, and invisible influence. The Taoist way of leadership is rooted in paradox. The leader who seeks to dominate is ensnared by pride and fear. The leader who releases control becomes a channel for collective strength and harmony. Lao Tzu writes, "When the best leader's work is done, the people say, 'We did it ourselves.'" The mark of great leadership is that it leaves no trace, that its influence is subtle, nurturing, and unseen. To rule without control requires deep emotional intelligence. Lao Tzu understands that the most profound changes arise not from coercion, but from trust, and not from edicts, but from example. He advocates for leading by serving, for listening before speaking, for guiding by stepping back. In this way, a leader becomes a mirror, reflecting the potential and wisdom of those around them, rather than casting their own shadow. Taoist leadership becomes a dance between firmness and gentleness, between presence and absence. When the leader embodies humility, the group flourishes. When ego recedes, collaboration and creativity thrive. Lao Tzu teaches that wielding power lightly and wisely opens space for others to grow, to take ownership, and to contribute their unique gifts to the whole. There is deep emotion arising from this approach, an invitation to shed the armor of authority and embrace the vulnerability of genuine connection. Leaders who trust in the natural intelligence of their people create communities grounded in respect and autonomy. The energy becomes cooperative, not competitive, nourishing, not draining. Leadership in the Taoist tradition is therefore a journey of self-discovery. The leader learns to let go of the need for recognition and instead stewards the collective good. By aligning with the flow of life, the Taoist leader fosters environments where trust, flexibility, and innovation blossom. As we contemplate Lao Tzu's teachings, we realize that to rule without control is to cultivate freedom in ourselves and in others. The deepest satisfaction comes not from holding tight, but from releasing, empowering, and witnessing growth. May this chapter encourage those who lead to walk the path of humility, compassion, and quiet strength. The Taoist way is not only wise, but profoundly healing, forging leaders who serve the world with grace, vision, and an open heart. Chapter 12. The balance of yin and yang. Within the pulse of existence, two forces dance endlessly, blending light and shadow, activity and stillness. Lao Tzu saw life not as a line, but as a circle, a perpetual interplay of yin and yang. These ancient symbols do not belong solely to philosophy. They are written into the very fabric of our being, our relationships and the world. Yin and yang are opposites, yet not enemies. They complement, nurture, and complete each other. Yin softens, yields, and nourishes. Yang asserts, creates, and pushes forward. Lao Tzu teaches that balance is life's secret, the source of harmony, health, and joy. Imbalance breeds suffering, rigidity, and conflict. Balance invites peace and flow. Emotional resonance arises when we see these forces at work within ourselves. Moments of grief or exhaustion call for yin, withdrawal, rest, receptivity. Times of ambition or excitement summon yang, energy, action, determination. Lao Tzu's wisdom is to recognize when to yield and when to act, when to listen and when to speak. Life is not a race, but a dance. As we observe nature, the balance becomes evident. The sun rises and sets, the tides ebb and flow. The seasons shift from bloom to decay. Within these rhythms, Lao Tzu finds spiritual truth. Strength is born of softness, and progress is made through patience. The rigid tree snaps in the storm. The flexible reed bends, survives, and flourishes. Yin and yang guide relationships as well. Compassion and assertiveness, speaking and silence, closeness and distance, each is needed, each is a gift. Balance within relationships fosters intimacy, trust, and growth. Lao Tzu urges us to honor both sides within ourselves and others, celebrating the fullness of what it means to be human. To live in balance is to live wisely, to tune oneself to the subtle currents of life. It is to release extremes, embrace the middle path, and become at home in the unfolding mystery. Lao Tzu's vision is emotionally stirring, a call to honor our own cycles, to trust the rhythm of our hearts, and to celebrate the beauty in contrast. May this chapter draw you deeply into the dance of yin and yang. Allow yourself to move gently between softness and strength, to find harmony within and without. Life pulses in balance. Let Lao Tzu's wisdom guide you into its luminous embrace. Chapter 13. Letting go of desire and ego. Desire, insatiable, relentless, drives so much of human suffering. Ego, proud, fearful, constructs barriers between ourselves and others. Lao Tzu saw these forces as sources of restlessness, misunderstanding, and pain. With compassionate wisdom, he invites us to the courageous act of letting go, to find freedom in surrender. Desires are natural, yet when unchecked, they become chains. We crave more, pleasure, power, possessions, and the more we obtain, the less satisfied we feel. Lao Tzu suggests that true happiness is not found through acquisition, but through release. To let go is to realize that fulfillment is not a destination, but an experience available in every moment. Ego whispers tales of separation. I am this, you are that. I must be better, greater, above. It isolates, competes, and defends, yet beneath its armor lies fear, the fear of not being enough. Lao Tzu's teachings gently dismantle the ego, inviting us to return to our shared humanity, our fundamental belonging. The emotional journey of letting go is one of vulnerability, uncertainty, and eventual peace. It asks us to examine our attachments, our stories, and dare to loosen our grip. In surrendering desire and ego, we do not lose ourselves. Rather, we recover the original purity of our being, unclouded by pretense. This path is not easy. Society glorifies those who strive, compete, and conquer. Lao Tzu asks us to pause, to question, and ultimately to trust in the abundance that is already present and the value we possess simply by existing. When we let go, even for a moment, a deep tranquility arises, one that is both tender and strong. Letting go also nurtures connection. Without ego's defenses, we open to deeper relationships, mutual respect, and unity. Without incessant desire, we awaken to the beauty that surrounds us, the riches within and without. Lao Tzu's wisdom is emotionally resonant, a call to lay down burdens, to step lightly, and to find lasting peace in the freedom of surrender. May you find in this chapter the courage to let go of old wounds, of restlessness, of the need to be anything other than yourself. In the emptiness, fullness abides. Chapter 14. Harmony with the flow of life. To live in harmony is to dance with the river, to move with its currents, to accept its direction, to surrender to the rhythm of existence. Lao Tzu's teachings breathe with this gentle spirit, encouraging us not to fight against life, but to flow within it. Harmony begins with acceptance, a willingness to allow things to be as they are, rather than as we wish them to be. Lao Tzu teaches that suffering arises when we resist the unfolding of life, attempting to force change or control outcomes. Peace, by contrast, comes in relinquishing resistance, in saying yes to the present moment. This way of living is emotionally powerful, embodying trust and faith. To flow with life requires vulnerability, an openness to unpredictability and change. It is the art of surrender, of relinquishing the armor of plans and outcomes and leaning gently into the unknown. The river is Lao Tzu's favorite metaphor, not because it is always gentle, but because it is true. The river adapts, finding the easiest path, flowing around obstacles, never ceasing nor faltering. In every moment it responds to reality, not to wishful thinking. Lao Tzu encourages us to embody this spirit, to be flexible, present, and faithfully attuned to the rhythms of life. Harmony is not passivity. It is a dynamic balance, a deep listening, and a creative engagement. To flow with life is to be alive to opportunities, to respond rather than react, and to cultivate peace amidst chaos. Emotionally, it brings release of control, of fear, of anxiety, and replaces them with trust, wonder, and gratitude. Let this chapter lead you gently into harmony with the flow of life. Celebrate moments of ease. Learn from times of difficulty. The way of Lao Tzu is the way of faithful presence, of serene acceptance, and of joyful engagement with all that life brings. Chapter 15, Compassion, Moderation, and Humility, the Three Treasures. At the heart of Lao Tzu's teachings lie three luminous jewels: compassion, moderation, and humility. He calls these the three treasures, virtues that sustain and uplift the soul and the world. Each is a balm for the wounds of ambition, greed, and pride, and together they form a radiant path to peace. Compassion, the first treasure, is the wellspring of connection. It asks us to see with gentle eyes, to feel with open hearts, and to serve with loving hands. Lao Tzu sees compassion as strength, not weakness, for it breaks down barriers and fosters unity. Moderation, the second treasure, brings balance to desire, action, and thought. It encourages us to walk the middle path, to release excess, and to savor sufficiency. Moderation is emotionally freeing. It liberates us from the compulsions of wanting, allowing us to live simply and deeply. Humility, the third treasure, is the root of wisdom. It asks us to bow before life's mystery, to acknowledge our own limitations, and to celebrate the gifts of others. Humility dissolves the ego, opening space for learning, growth, and authentic connection. Together, these treasures form the emotional and spiritual core of Lao Tzu's philosophy. In a world swirling with conflict and division, they serve as gentle reminders of what truly matters. Compassion softens hardness, moderation tempers excess, and humility restores grace. May this final chapter invite you to cherish the three treasures, to nurture them in yourself and in your relationships. Let them guide your heart, brighten your days, and heal your sorrows. Lao Tzu's wisdom is ultimately a gift, a path not only to understanding, but to profound joy, connection, and peace. Chapter 16, Returning to the Source, the Cycle of Existence. In the gentle hush of dawn, as mist wraps the earth in its arms and the sun peers hesitantly above the horizon, nature imparts its first lesson. All things return to their beginnings. It is in this cyclical dance, the eternal ebb and flow, that Lao Tzu finds the pulse of the Tao, the way. The journey begins and ends in the same breath, like the river that flows to the sea, only to return as rain to the mountain. Returning to the source is to acknowledge that existence itself is not a linear progression, but a sacred cycle. Birth is preceded by stillness, growth drifts into decline, and death opens again to rebirth. Lao Tzu watches quietly, offering not commands but invitations to witness, to remember, and to surrender. In Taoism, the source is not a distant place but the essence from which all arises and to which all must gently fall. How do we, burdened by ambition and fear, return? To the modern spirit, going back may feel regressive, yet in returning to the source, we discover a release from the shackles of expectation and time's tyranny. We are children again, not in ignorance, but in fullness, complete, curious, and at ease. Lao Tzu tells us, knowing others is intelligence, knowing oneself is true wisdom, mastering others is strength, mastering yourself is true power. The cycle of existence echoes through us with every inhalation and exhalation, every season's passage, every joy and sorrow. In ceasing to grasp or resist, we align with the rhythm of all things. The cycle is not apathetic, it is compassionate, allowing us to falter and gain wisdom, to lose and receive endlessly. Nature withholds judgment. Trees drop their leaves, the river freezes, and all is quiet. Yet life surges again, stronger and more beautiful. Lao Tzu's own legendary departure is a metaphor, a sage on a water buffalo, vanishing beyond the Western Gate, his teachings left as blessings upon the world. That act of leaving is itself a return to the source, to simplicity, to the invisible core of being. We too must learn to withdraw, surrendering our attachment to outcomes, trusting in the return. In practical terms, this cyclical wisdom offers gentle guidance. To rest is not failure, but renewal. To embrace vulnerability is to regain strength. The heart, wearied by striving, can find solace in the cyclical nature of things, allowing sorrow, welcoming joy, and being equally present for both. Returning to the source, then, is a practice of remembering and remembering ourselves, piecing together what the world has sundered, allowing our spirit to rest in its true home. This sacred return is the birthplace of all transformation. Lao Tzu's lesson is not an escape from the world, but a deeper engagement, a recognition that the world itself is our teacher, our parent, our ever-unfolding home. Chapter 17, Taoism and the Human Heart. To speak of Taoism is to speak of the heart, not merely the physical organ, but the seat of feeling, intuition, and humanity's deepest longing. Lao Tzu understood this with a clarity that pierces centuries. The great sage gazed beyond the dichotomy of mind and matter to the ineffable wisdom residing in the heart. At the center of your being, you have the answer. You know who you are and you know what you want, he wrote. Through Taoism, the heart is reclaimed as both compass and vessel. The world often instructs us to let reason rule, to suppress emotion, and to pursue ambitions that exhaust our true selves. But Taoism whispers contrary advice. Listen to the heart, for it alone can sense the contours of the Tao. Lao Tzu saw that the heart is as vast and subtle as a mountain lake, reflecting the clouds without grasping them, receiving sun and rain with tranquil acceptance. What does it mean to live from the heart in the context of Taoist wisdom? First, it means to abandon pretense. Lao Tzu's humility is not a strategy, but a state of being, a return to simplicity, honesty, and compassion. A wise man is like water. He benefits all things and does not compete, writes the sage. The heart that walks the Tao becomes water, yielding yet indomitable, transparent yet profound. Taoism and the heart begin with trust. Not blind faith, but a delicate trust in the flow of life, the unpredictable ebbs of fortune, the certainty of change. This trust allows one to rest in the unknowable, rather than striving futilely for control. Anxiety loosens its grip, replaced by a quiet faith that all things come to their appointed fullness. Compassion emerges naturally from the heart, enfolded in Tao, Lao. Tzu's advice is radically inclusive. Extend kindness not selectively but universally, as the sun warms all things without discrimination. The heart in harmony with Tao is gentle, yet capable of tremendous resilience. It has no need to dominate, for it trusts the unfolding of things. The modern heart aches under the burdens of loneliness, competition, and the pressure to be more. Taoist wisdom offers a balm. Cease striving, return to gentleness, and act from inner sincerity. This emotional intelligence is not a retreat from reality, but an embrace of reality as it truly is, imperfect, fluid, and eternally changing. Taoism acknowledges the pain of living. The heart is not spared suffering, but guided to honor it, welcome its lessons, and transmute it into deeper understanding. Loss and gain are aspects of the same rhythm, and the heart learns to treasure both, knowing that both will pass, and both originate from the source. In the symphony of existence, the heart tuned to Tao is a single flute, clear and haunting, echoing the wisdom of a sage who knew that life's answers are not found in dogma or doctrine, but in the quiet knowing we carry within. Lao Tzu's legacy is a living call to feel deeply, to love generously, and to trust the pulsing mystery of our own hearts. Chapter 18, The Wisdom of Paradox, Weakness as Strength. There is a moment in the flow of the Tao when opposites mingle, and wisdom emerges like morning dew, unexpected, gentle, and utterly transformative. For Lao Tzu, paradox is not confusion, but the hallmark of profound truth. It is through the lens of paradox that he reveals the supreme strength concealed within weakness, the unassailable power hidden in vulnerability. This wisdom grieves and thrills, startling the heart awake with its tender logic. Under heaven, nothing is softer or more yielding than water. Yet nothing is better for attacking the hard and stiff, Lao Tzu proclaims, inviting us to recalibrate our sight. Strength in the common world often masquerades as loudness, force, and control. But the Tao unwinds this narrative, presenting the sublime image of water, soft, unassuming, patiently carving canyons in mountains. To walk the way of Lao Tzu is to honor weakness, not as defeat, but as an invitation to deeper power. Weakness in Taoist wisdom means openness, to be receptive like the low valley, to allow the world to move through us without resistance. It means admitting uncertainty, expressing genuine feelings, and living without the armor of pretense. The paradox is emotional, for it confounds the longing for invulnerability. How can yielding become strength? Consider the willow bending in the storm, surviving by the grace of flexibility, while the rigid oak is splintered and undone. Lao Tzu's teachings gently refute the illusion of control, urging us to accept life's turning with a pliant heart. In human relationships, the paradox multiplies its blessings. To forgive is to relinquish the harsh power of resentment and gain the soft clarity of compassion. To admit error is to lose face but acquire humility, intimacy, and respect. Weakness makes possible the miracles of reconciliation and growth. It reveals the secret doors that only yielding can open. Yet the modern world champions strength as dominance. Lao Tzu's voice, soft yet unyielding, contests this myth. He teaches that true power is not exerted, but received, not seized, but allowed. In moments of distress, when one's defenses crack, there is the sacred opportunity to surrender, to empty oneself, and let the Tao fill the space with renewal. The wisdom of paradox also touches the domain of creativity and transformation. Innovation is born not from clinging to the known, but by welcoming emptiness, a weakness that allows new forms to arise. The artist, the poet, the lover, each must risk vulnerability to touch genuine beauty. Lao Tzu's paradox is a call to courage, not the brute courage of confrontation, but the subtle bravery of letting go. In our pain, weakness becomes the very soil where empathy blooms. In our failures, it seeds the humility required for wisdom. Lao Tzu asks us not to escape weakness, but to make a home within it, trusting that the Tao will transform what is soft, what is yielding, into the quiet strength that endures storms and sings in the sunlight. Through paradox, we glimpse the Tao's grace, the power in the powerless, the majesty in the meek. Lao Tzu's sage emerges not as a conqueror, but as water, flowing, adapting, nurturing, and impossible to defeat. In each surrender, in each gentle yielding, we discover ourselves a little more, a little closer to the source. Chapter 19. The relevance of Lao Tzu in a modern world. In the cacophony of the modern world, blinking screens, relentless notifications, and the ever-pressing rush for achievement, Lao Tzu's ancient whisper is more audible than ever. What relevance could a sage from millennia past have for souls tethered to hyperconnectivity and unending ambition? The answer pulses quietly in every moment of overwhelm, every pang of alienation, every longing for peace that cannot be bought or found in busyness. Lao Tzu's wisdom is not nostalgia, nor escapism. It is a needed medicine for the maladies of today. The hyper-rational world has severed much of its connection to the subtle rhythms of nature, favoring thought over feeling, action over stillness. Yet it is precisely stillness, humility, and patience that are lacking, and these float like elusive water lilies along the stream of Lao Tzu's teachings. In business, leadership, relationships, and even technology, the gentle Tao offers a counterbalance. The win-at-all-costs ethos breeds anxiety, exhaustion, and collateral emotional harm. Lao Tzu's call to softness, vulnerability, and patient action disrupts the harmful patterns of relentless competition. Leaders inspired by the sage cultivate empathy, servant-heartedness, and vision, not because they are weak, but because they understand the power of influence, rooted in integrity rather than control. The environmental crisis is another arena where Lao Tzu's wisdom radiates urgency. The Tao teaches stewardship, harmony, and respect for the interconnectedness of all life. Today's exploitation is the price of forgotten humility. Reawakening the ancient reverence for nature, seeing ourselves as part of the whole and not its masters, renews hope for healing both planet and spirit. Individually, Lao Tzu's teachings answer the chronic issues of stress, identity confusion, and longing for authenticity. The cycle of existence, the strength in weakness, the wisdom of returning, these are maps for liberation. Through mindfulness, conscious living, and embracing mystery, we rekindle the ability to simply be, to accept the richness of the present without the torture of regret or the burden of expectation. Even in technology, a domain seemingly far from the flow of the Tao, Lao Tzu's humility offers guidance. The sage's gentle mastery translates into wise stewardship of innovation, reminding us that true progress must serve the heart and soul, not eclipse them. Emotionally, the relevance is acutely felt. In the face of collective anxiety and despair, Lao Tzu's message is a balm. Cease striving, become gentle, plant yourself in the rhythm that sustains all things. The ancient sage's words are like seeds of hope, persistent and quietly waiting for soil, made fertile by longing. As we move deeper into an uncertain future, Lao Tzu's voice becomes not more distant, but closer, an anchor in the tempest, a whisper in the silence, a bridge home. His teachings are relevant because the heart does not change. After all, our need for meaning, connection, and peace endures forever. In the chaos of today, the way of nature is our way, reclaimed and reborn. Chapter 20. Walking the Way, Living Tao in Everyday Life. To walk the way of the Tao is not to rise above the world, but to move intimately within its heart, step by step, moment by moment. Lao Tzu's teachings invite us to make philosophy into action, wisdom into breath, and insight into daily ritual. The journey is not abstract. It is profoundly emotional, for it touches the soil of our routines, how we wake, eat, speak, work, love, and rest. In the simplest acts, Lao Tzu reveals the mystery. Attention becomes sacred, the way water fills a cup, the way sunlight trickles through a window, the way kindness can soften a heart. To live Tao is to be present in all things, noticing their beauty, feeling their ephemerality. The sage insists again and again that meaning is not found in grand achievement, but in the humility of ordinary life. How does one walk this way? By embracing simplicity. In a culture of excess, Taoism pleads for less clutter, less striving, less distraction. Simplicity is emotional truth. It allows the essential to shine. A simple meal, prepared with care, binds families together. A single word spoken with love heals old wounds. Walking the Tao is the gentle art of subtraction, allowing the soul to breathe. Gentleness becomes a practice. The world wounds us with harshness, but the Tao offers soft remedies. In greeting a stranger, in consoling a friend, in forgiving ourselves, we embody the spirit of water, flowing, adapting, nurturing all we touch. The emotional impact of gentleness ripples outward, dissolving conflict, restoring trust, and inviting connection. Living the Tao also means honoring cycles, resting when tired, celebrating when joyful, mourning when bereft. The heart learns to respect its own seasons. Walking the way is to permit oneself to be changed by experience, to open the hands in surrender, and to receive whatever comes with gratitude. Mindfulness reigns as the silent monarch of Taoist practice. Lao Tzu implores us to see without judging, to listen without interpreting, to feel without grasping. In each breath we return to the source. The journey is not linear but circular. Repetition is not futility but deepening. In relationships, living the Tao means listening more, speaking less, and seeking honesty over victory. It is to hold others gently, to withhold judgment, to offer and receive forgiveness as freely as the wind shakes leaves from a tree. Emotional intelligence flourishes here, for it asks us to be brave enough to love without conditions, trust without demands. Walking the way, we heal ourselves and others in unseen ways. Lao Tzu's path is not a rule book, but a set of living principles: softness, tranquility, authenticity, and reverent action. To step upon this path is to become more whole, more human, and more alive. If you found this video helpful, inspiring, or entertaining, don't forget to hit that like button. And if you're new here, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss out on future content. Your support means the world. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below.